Welcome back to this week's episode of the CryptoNoobz podcast, where we talk about cryptocurrency and the world around it. I'm your host, NelsonRecardo.x, and I'm joined here with my co-host,
Lambo242.
And on this week's episode, we're going to talk about something that has widely been asked, something that we've been waiting to hear about. Let's learn about day trading. So we'd like to introduce our guest for this week, Doc Doyle Roberts.
Nice to meet you.
All right. So Roberts is a great friend of ours, like a trader from the Bahamas. He is someone who is a full-time trader. He's already retired. He's a millionaire. He has come from a banking and venture capitalist background, as well as angel investing. He's done a lot throughout his life. So we can't wait to hear about what it is that he has to say about day trading and why it is that he thinks that it's one of the best ways of making money. You know, Doc, we've been waiting to actually have you on this podcast for like a long time now, and we are thrilled to have you here, man.
Thanks for having me.
So one of the things that we have to get out of the way, right? Like, what is day trading and why does it even matter?
Okay. Well, day trading is selling time and behavior in an open marketplace that is open to anybody. You're able to trade in different market sectors using different assets. For instance, you have the stock market, the traditional stock market. You have the Forex or the foreign currency market, and you have the indices market, and you have the crypto market. So basically, you're just buying and selling, and that is day trading in a nutshell.
All right. So, Doc, before you started trading, can you give us like an origin story of like where you started, what was your career, and like when you decided to make the shift into trading or doing that full time for yourself?
Okay, well, first off, I come from very humble beginnings. I was born in a place called the Grove, First Street in particular. I was born to a single mother, and in the formative years, I went through the traditional schooling system. After high school, I joined the Royal Bahamas Police Force. And while I was doing that, I was also actively pursuing my education. So at that particular point, I was going to the then College of the Bahamas, and I was a police officer for a number of years. I did my 11 years. But during that period, I also garnered my schooling. And that is actually when I became exposed to trading. It was during the early 90s. I was down in Barbados attending the University of West Indies, studying law. That was my game plan, to just become a lawyer, make my money quietly, and go about my business. But the path of one's life, you tend to introduce to things that would put you on a different path. And it was during that time, while I was in Barbados studying law, I was invited to a pastor's house down there by another Bahamian. His name is Bishop Devin Roll. We were down there at that time, and he invited me to a dinner that was being held by a pastor, Sam Salters. Sam Salters at that time, I only knew him to be an American pastor down in Barbados who was catering to the university students. Now, what transpired when I went to his house, it completely blew my mind. He was the first Black man that I met who was living that lifestyle without indulging in illegal activities. And what took me back was I only had questions about what he did. And to solve that, he simply took me to his home office. And that was another thing that shifted my mentality, that you actually could work from home. You didn't have to go into an office, a traditional office space per se. And he showed me his trading setup, and he was wired into the New York Stock Exchange, the Chicago Mercantile, and all of that stuff. And that was my personal epiphany. And it was at that particular point in time, law became a sideshow, and trading was something that I started to pursue actively. Now, I should say that I had some additional benefits. One of the benefits that I had was the fact that my father, Tyrone Roberts, he was the vice president in an offshore bank and trust, Ansbacher Trust. He was a vice president there. So I was able to garner knowledge from him. Now, you may say, well, how much knowledge did you garner? I started doing internships in the different offshore banks in the summers, and I just took it from there. It was a combination of education, mentorship, and guidance, because not everybody, especially me, when I came into the financial sector, I would have considered myself financially ignorant to a lot of things. So I tried to focus a lot on education in the formative years. I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, that
That
it really
definitely
is
did.
interesting. Like when you got off someone who got actually like the pastor who's actually able to show you different things. Because a lot of people when they make their money, they try to like close themselves off. So like being able to not pull the ladder up behind you when you want to climb up, you know. So that was really great. Like mentorship, I think that's one of the key pillars of just keeping the economy rolling. Really, when you think about it, like it's always great to have mentors, someone who can show you a way.
Indeed. Indeed.
Indeed, it's correct. Now, I remember around I think the FTX crash was not one of your students would have made $1 million inside of a
Yeah.
trade.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit more about that story, man.
Okay. Well, it was quite simple. The student in question, he was trading prop firms at that time. And at that particular juncture, he had a total prop firm holdings of about $500,000 in total assets. He was trading between FTMO and I think it was FTMO and Apex, but I'm sure he was trading with FTMO. He basically just he caught a good run. We had discussed the nature of the market previously, about 3 days prior to that. And I had given them the key levels that they should take a look at. And he was also a member of my signals group at the time. And so his record with wins and trading, he began to trust my insight, and he just went all in on that particular trade. And just off of that one trade, he made, I think, $1.2 million. And that was that, for
Listen,
me personally, it brought me a sense of pride to know that somebody that I actually taught this thing to was able to now replicate, and not just replicate, but replicate it on a level that was beyond where I was trading at. Because I'm a very conservative trader by industry standards. I would trade anywhere between 5 to 20 lots in terms of my average trade. And these would be trades that I'm comfortable, that I know is going to do what I project that it's going to do. But that particular student, what made him stand out was the amount of effort and focus that he had during the education phase of his training. And not so much, he basically went all in, and he was that one student that would just continually just call me with whatever questions he had. And he was that one student who was not afraid to experiment with the market and to test his hypothesis. And once he had locked his strategy in, and the thing about it is, a lot of persons coming into day trading, they think that it's extremely complicated, when in reality, it's rather straightforward, but it requires focus and it requires concentration. And especially if you have a tribe around you, like-minded, who are trading, it makes it easier in terms of putting your ideas out there and testing them, stress testing them. Because the reality is, no trader is going to be right 100% of the time. And no trader is going to always have good days. The reality is, you have to know what season you're in as a trader, whether you're in the educational phase, whether you're in the back testing phase, or whether you're in the phase of ramping up your strategy. And it is a profession. And I must say it's a profession, because a lot of persons come into trading mentally as gamblers. Like, for instance, a lot of persons came into trading during the crypto boom, in the 2020 crypto boom, when everybody was locked down with COVID, for instance. And a lot of persons would come into it from a gambling mindset. But that particular student, the one thing that he was able to do right out the gates, he realized that trading is a business, a structured business. And he realized that there have to be rules that you follow. And he realized that you have to use risk management. And though these are terms that are thrown about in the industry so casually, these are truly the backbone to what trading is. And these are the things that will allow you to be a trader that will last the test of time, but not just last the test of time, you will be profitable as a trader. The last thing that I want to say about that particular student is the fact that he did a lot of back testing and he did a lot of journaling. And so he was aware of what his mistakes were in coming to that point as a trader, and he was aware of what his strengths were as well. A lot of persons don't like to journal that journey in trading. This is something that literally makes you a better trader. But that particular student, he epitomized the work ethic that I myself had as a trader. And when I say the work ethic, though my trades are set and forget trades, I am in the markets from 2 o'clock in the morning, Eastern Standard Time, and I may turn my systems off maybe about 8 or 9 o'clock that night, because I'm not just trading one asset. I'm not just trading one market. I'm multifaceted. I have a stock portfolio, so that requires a certain amount of time. I have a crypto portfolio. I have a foreign currency portfolio. And all of these things require time. And what that student showed me is no matter what you're trading, if you structure your trading like a business, like a profession, like the same things that would go into a brick and mortar business has to go into your trading business. And that is just what it is. The reality is most individuals, they get lost in how easy it is to enter a trade. And because of how easy it is to enter a trade, they do not do the foundational frameworks and the foundational background work that is required in a trade to begin with. And that is when that is a distinct difference. That particular student, that $1 million student, he approached his trading like a business. And every single trade, up to that point, he had been trading about 2 years. He consistently made around, let's say, between $40,000 to $50,000 a month up to that point. And he was just simply building his bank, building his portfolio.
Yeah. It makes sense. It makes sense. I like that.
Great, man.
Given that that student, he seemed like he was very focused and he's ready on top of his game, right?
Yeah.
What do you think is the number one reason why most people fail at trading? Because the statistics show that most people fail or most people are going to drop out of trading. Like from your experience of working with people, can you tell, like in certain conversations, for example, when people come to me and ask me about investing in crypto, right?
Mhm.
When I see some of their first questions is like, what is the minimum I could put in or how quick I could take my money out? I'm like, yeah, you're not going to survive the bear markets. You're not going to survive because crypto isn't always going to be up. Like right now, crypto is
Exactly.
down. This is one of the best times to buy. So what are some of the things you will hear people say and you could kind of tell in your mind, like, okay, this person, not to say they will, but it's like, you're not sure how, if they'll stick around through the tough times and our actual learning.
Okay. The first thing, when I analyze or look at an individual who's coming into trading, I quickly ask myself, is this person coming into trading in the hopes that they can gamble and get money quickly without having to do a whole lot of work? Because the reality is you can become a proficient, profitable trader within 6 months of education, 6 months of knowledge. Once it's structured, you're able to enter the markets and perform profitably. Now, the thing is, the number one thing that I've found that makes someone profitable or not profitable is one word: stickability. Stickability. Not everybody has the internal makeup to deal with the learning stages of trading. The reality is, in the learning stages of trading, if you don't have a strategy and you don't have a system that you can follow repeatedly, almost like a robot, then you're going to lose money. And what happens is, a lot of persons coming into trading, one, they come into trading using the information that they got on YouTube. This is a great faux pas in itself, because the reality is the persons on YouTube that are trading, and you can see them making the $5,000 and $10,000 in one trade in 1 hour. Most persons don't factor in how much money they have in their portfolio to begin with. So they would see the Q Bankses and the trades by size, and they would see the TJs of the YouTube space, seeing these gentlemen talking about, oh, I made $120,000 in this one trade. Oh, I made 400, not understanding the maths and not understanding the discipline and not understanding how the market moves. It is like an individual who says that they want to be a doctor. They don't want to go to medical school. They just want to go to the hospital and just put on the white jacket and start performing, and not understanding that, okay, you have to do some biochem, you have to do some pharmacology and all of these other nuances and sub-sciences that you have to learn. Same thing with day trading. When an individual is entering into the day trading space, they must understand that there is a learning curve, a learning curve. I've literally seen people who attempted trading for 1 month, and gave up. The reality is a person's discipline and internal intestinal fortitude and ability to, one, sustain the losses that you're going to take in the beginning, because in the beginning, you're going to take losses because you won't understand market structure. You won't understand market phase. You won't understand liquidity. You won't understand supply and demand. You won't understand these things. And what happens is every single trade you make, it makes that knowledge stick. And when I say it makes the knowledge stick, unlike most persons who would have started out trading using demo accounts and stuff, I personally, I used my own money. So I lost money on the front end, but I saw it as an education because, okay, when I first started out, because of what Master Sam Salters exposed me to, when I first started out, I looked at the market through the eyes of what large institutional firms, how they operated, how the Goldman Sachs operated, how the Lehman Brothers of the world operated, how the JP Morgans operated. And I said to myself, right out the gates, I said to myself, it doesn't make any sense for me to trade like a small portfolio trader because they do not affect the market. It is these larger firms like the Goldman Sachs and the BlackRocks. When they put their monies into the market, it moves the market in different ways, as we see right now happening with gold, silver, and the markets overall. An individual who's coming into trading needs to understand is education is key. And that was one of the reasons why I personally thought to put the education into a course framework, because I said to myself, most of these individuals are going to lose about 2 to 3 years of time if they were to take the YouTube route. It is not to say that the information is not out there on YouTube, but the information is so scattered. And if you as an individual don't know how to structure that information, you would literally waste 2 to 3 years just in the bringing it together in a structured format that you can say, okay, A, B, C, D, and E. When I realized this was happening, I saw a need for it, plain and simple. I saw a need for it. And most importantly, I saw that persons, especially around 2020, persons coming into the cryptocurrency space were just simply throwing money at things without understanding what a chart is, without understanding what technical analysis is. And they would just throw money at something and expect it to go up. Now, in the early days, that happened very easy. But when market restructuring takes place, when the market needs to restabilize, a lot of those persons lost their shirts. They lost tons of money that they would not have lost if they had the education of how to read charts, how to interpret charts and things of that nature. That is the thing that stands out to me with most people coming into the space. They don't want to go through the educational phase, and they feel that, okay, they watch a couple of videos on YouTube, they got it figured out. You have to understand, if I was to put my learning time frame into a time, I would put it down to approximately 5 years in total. And that is what I feel is the length of time that it took me to truly congeal and put trading together from an understanding. When an individual is entering to the market, the average individual, one, they're entering in with a very small portfolio. I see individuals entering into the market with $1,000, $3,000, $10,000, and then they expect miracles to happen out of that money, and they don't have a strategy and a plan. They don't have a system. And what ends up happening is they end up losing that money. And then they realize, oh, I need to be educated about this thing. I'm quite sure you guys in the crypto space, you would have found individuals who would have said that they had invested sizable amounts of money in the crypto space and they never knew what a chart looked like. And that was something that was quite shocking to me, because when I came into the crypto space, I was coming from the stock market and the foreign currency market, forex market. So my knowledge base was already there in terms of understanding the market swings, in terms of understanding what phase and stage the market is in, and that was a factor. But what I found is most persons coming into the industry, they take it too lightly, or they take it for a game, and they want microwave success without having to put the work in. Plain and simple. They want microwave success. The reality is, you as an individual, just once you've gone through that education phase, making a comfortable $3,000 to $10,000 a month, that is considered a slow month. That is considered a month where you're not really trying. That is considered a month where you are able to actually focus on other things, because that is a swing trading month. The reality is as your portfolio size grows, the speed in which you will be able to make money increases. And this is something that a lot of persons don't know and understand. That is why I tend to advise persons coming into the industry, take a prop firm challenge. And you might say, well, why am I advising them to take the challenge? If they can't pass the challenge, then it doesn't make no sense they're doing the direct prop firm trading. Because if you can't take $100 and turn that into $1,000, what makes you think you can take $50,000 and turn that into $1 million?
Yeah.
And that's just what it is.
All right. But I really love that answer, because it really does highlight how a lot of people, they kind of like go into trading. Like, I never really got into trading, like, seriously, because of like a lot of things. You say, like, you have to devote time and energy. Like, a lot of people think it's just, they focus on how quickly they can make money, right?
Yeah.
So I tell people, like, for example, I did boxing, right? That helped me lose a little bit of weight. And I just tell people, like, the best way to learn how to fight is to fight. You have to get in the ring and take some punches.
You gotta get in
you
the
will
ring.
learn a lot about yourself, you know? Like, you will learn a lot about yourself, what you need to do. So that's how I kind of look at it, like, with training. Because I've heard a couple of people say it's almost like a sport, really. Like, you really gotta...
It is. Yeah. I practice martial arts myself. I actually teach jiu-jitsu and karate. And I do always compare trading to martial arts. The same scenario. Like you say, if you haven't gotten punched in the face, you don't know how you're going to react.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like
a lot of people, they might go into trading thinking, well, this person turned $100 into $1,000, so I could do it. I know I could do it. Just because you see that person do it is like, oh, you ain't know how much money that person lose learning how to do that.
Before they got to that point. Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
That's real.
So, Doc, let's just take it home for a second. You know, earlier we would have had a conversation about, you know, basically not just us inside the Bahamas, but us regionally. A lot of people don't really believe in trading or what's not, because some might think it's a scam, others that might think it's too hard or what's not. Like, what would you say to other Caribbean people, especially our own people here in the Bahamas? Like, what would you say to them to, like, get them to at least consider trading as a profession or as something that they should possibly try?
Okay. The first thing I must say to most Bahamians out there who would think that day trading is a scam, the first thing is, ask yourself, are there human beings on this planet right now making millions of dollars day trading? Then I would say to them, are there not yearly tournaments like the Trading Cup, for instance, where individuals day trade and make ridiculous amounts of monies in short amounts of time? You know, what I found is most Bahamians, when they don't want to show or express their ignorance, they hide that by saying something is a scam. they will jump off prematurely without doing proper investigation, without doing proper due diligence into anything. I don't care what it is. Like, for instance, there was some years back, there was a company that came into the Bahamas by the name of IML. Now, for a lot of persons who had no idea that they could actually access the markets and trade, IML served to actually give them this insight to, hey, there's a possibility that you can trade the foreign currency market. However, the business model of IML was focused on multi-level marketing. It was not focused on teaching people how to trade. And that was the first real experience that Bahamians got in terms of just a little bit more knowledge that these markets existed and they can access these markets from the comfort of their own homes. That's the first thing. Now, because IML only taught those groups of Bahamians what I would consider kindergarten or introductory constructs, such as using the Fibonacci to trade and basically building their whole system on Fibonacci. And Fibonacci in itself in trading is just literally a tool for you to project where price may go. One of many, many tools. So persons off of that in the Bahamas said, okay, trading has to be a scam because I joined this program and I made no money. C'est la vie. There came the boom in Forex when persons started talking on YouTube about trading using MetaTrader 4, where you can trade on your cell phone, you can trade on your laptop. And in the midst of that, what we found was persons started trading without any education, without any knowledge. And sometimes they made some money, but most times they lost money. Now, what I've found is education always trumps boldness. A lot of persons, they get all excited and hyped over how easy it is to enter the market, how easy it is to enter a trade, how easy it is to make these monies without having to do any physical work. And that in itself is an attractive draw for most persons when they see trading. Not realizing, yes, you may not use physical work or physical exertion, but you will have to use your mental capacity. You will have to be able to intellectualize and think and properly hypothesize and properly test what you believe is going to take place in a trade. At the beginning of any trade, what you're going to find is everybody starts out at the same point. 50% chance of you winning your trade, 50% chance of you losing your trade. However, the person who equips themselves with an edge. Now that edge can be your strategy. That edge can be your A+ setup. That edge can be a special knowledge or information you have about the markets, but you have an edge. A lot of persons don't know that obtaining an edge is possible. And as a trader, I had to come to an understanding, and the understanding is less is more. Less is more. And when I say less is more, less indicators and less time on the charts, less is more. Now, here it is. When I say less is more, you can make more money swing trading. Personally, this is my belief, right? You can make more money swing trading than you can make scalping the market. To me personally, this is one of the fundamental mistakes that most persons make when they're coming into trading is they start off scalping. And for those who may not know what scalping is an individual who will be in a trade anywhere from a minute to upwards to, say, an hour. These are persons who are in and out of trades quickly. And what persons don't understand and realize is this particular method of trading is statistically proven the fastest way for you to go broke in trading. On the other side of the spectrum, swing trading compared to scalping, compared to day trading, swing trading will give you a greater edge than either day trading or scalping the markets. Now, to bring clarity so that your viewers will have greater understanding, A scalper is somebody who is in and out of positions quickly, either 1 hour or less. A day trader is a person who is going to be in a position for that day, in the market at market open and out of that market before market closes. A swing trader, on the other hand, is somebody who will enter a trade and can find themselves holding that position anywhere from 3 days to 2 weeks. And that is the type of trading I do. The reason why that is the type of trading that I normally recommend to everybody. I am a proponent of this method of trading because this method of trading, first and foremost, it allows you to garner a 1 to 3 risk reward strategy without a whole lot of effort. And when I say a 1 to 3 risk reward strategy, this is whereby for every $1 you place in the market with your trade, you should expect to get $3 back out of that trade. That is the first thing. And the next thing is in terms of your return, in terms of the scope and the scale of your returns, what I've found is you're able to make greater amounts of money with less stress. Let me tell you what I mean. No matter what anyone tells you, no matter who the trader is, you must understand, I don't care if the person has been trading for 30 years. If they tell you that they do not have an emotional reflex or an emotional reaction, whether before they enter the trade, during the trade, and after the trade, they are a bona fide liar. When we trade, you cannot separate your emotions from your money. That's just the reality. And a lot of persons don't understand this dichotomy that they face as a trader, as a Bahamian overall, looking at money ventures. If your emotions are closely tied to your money, you won't be able to make sound financial decisions. And that is with trading. So you will spend most of your trading career developing what I call a stoic mindset, a stoic outlook. You know that once you follow your system and you follow your rules, you have your stop loss properly placed, you have your take profit targets properly allocated. You know that the odds will be stacked in your favor and the tools will add and will increase the odds. Here it is. When I say that, what I mean is this. You start off at a 50-50 chance, 50% chance you lose your trade, 50% chance you got to win your trade. But when you use confluence, and when I say confluence, other data to confirm and to add substance that your initial hypothesis as to where the market is going to go is going to happen. When you do this, what you will find is your success rates goes up. And with swing trading, this is something that you're able to do. Now, when it comes to those who would say trading is a scam, what I've found is these individuals, one, they've never traded before. Two, if they traded with a very small portfolio. And when I say a small portfolio, I'm talking anywhere from $10,000 or less. Three, these individuals have no understanding of the world financial markets and how money moves and how money works. If you were to tell individuals right now that while we're in the midst of filming this interview, that gold is crashing right now, silver is crashing, and the stock market was crashing, they won't believe you. And they would look at someone like me and they'd be like, so why aren't you panicking while the rest of the world is panicking? I'm not panicking because I have charts that are showing me what is happening and what is about to happen. And I know the levels that price is going to go to. So once you have information, see, that is the thing about trading. The more information you have, the more successful a trader you are. The more you are prepared to, when you're going into your trading day, when you're going into your trade overall, the more you are prepared in terms of information, the more successful you will naturally be. Most persons who come into trading and say trading is a scam, these are individuals who, one, they didn't learn properly. Two, they did not put in the amount of time that is required. And you may say, well, what is the right amount of time that a person needs to put into trading to be successful? Well, I would say point blank, it varies upon individual to individual. Some individuals, literally, I've seen individuals who have literally just sat with me for 10 hours, who've gone through my boot camp, 10 hours of my boot camp, and bam, out the gates, they trading and they making money just off of the boot camp. Then you have others, they go through the boot camp, they go through the full day trading made easy course, and they I call it procrastination. A lot of persons are afraid. And when I say they're afraid, a lot of persons are afraid to make money. And you may say, well, that ain't true, Doc. Yes, that is true. I would say the reason why you would hear statistics that only 1% of traders are successful and 99% are not is because that 1% is not afraid. That 1% is willing to risk money. That 1% is willing to challenge themselves as an individual. That 1% is willing to do internal psychological work. When I say internal psychological work, your worldview in terms of how you perceive money, in terms of your interrelationship with money, the way your parents socialize you to have a relationship with money, the way your friends, your environment, your community socialize you, how to perceive money has a bearing on whether you will be a good trader or not. If you are equipped with the mindset whereby you know that money is a tool and not the end all be all, but a tool, you are able to efficiently wield that tool called money. The psychology of an individual plays the greatest part in whether they'll be a successful trader or not. That individual's internal psychology. Their relationship with money is the first thing that will bear on their success rate as a trader. And two, how they perceive themselves. How they perceive themselves. Most successful traders have somewhat of an ego, a bit of an ego. They have faith in themselves. They have a confidence in themselves that is not common. Most successful traders I've found, I would say they're almost like fire signs. They are willing to blaze new trails. They're willing to go in directions that the average individual would tread with caution. What I've found is to be a successful trader, you literally have to fight your, I would call them inner demons, your inner demons. And when I say your inner demons, the first inner demon that the average successful trader has to fight is the inner demon of greed. Let me give you a working example from my own example. Yesterday, I was in a trade that I was broadcasting. I broadcasted it on TikTok and on Facebook. And at the time I was in the trade, I was about $1,700 up in the trade. Now, my original projection told me that this trade was going to go to where I would walk away with about $4,000 in this trade. I got the initial indicators to get out of this trade because there would be a reversal. I took my little Georgie bundle of $1,700 and called it a day. I looked back at the chart about an hour later, and what happened? It went to the $4,000 level. Now, the younger trader me would have been upset and angry. Why didn't you just stay in there? The more mature trader in me now is I just made somebody's monthly salary in less than 4 hours. I've been able to deal with that particular issue, that particular internal issue, greed. That's the first thing that most persons have to deal with if they want to be successful. The second thing that I feel that persons would have to address if they want to be successful as a trader, they have to address overtrading, and they have to address no risk management, and they have to address chasing wins. What is overtrading? Overtrading, here it is. Myself as a trader, one of the rules that I have, if I suffer 2 losses back to back, that's it. I'm not trading for the rest of the day. That's a rule. That stands. 2 losses back to back in a day, I am not supposed to be trading. That's the first thing. A lot of persons, when they suffer a loss, say that they suffer that loss about 10:30 in the morning, they will quickly jump back into another trade without assessing the lay of the land, without assessing why they lost that trade to begin with, without assessing, was my risk management right? Was my stop loss properly positioned? These are some of the early mistakes that most traders make. And when I say early mistakes, don't think for a second that everybody doesn't make these mistakes. Everybody makes these mistakes. I made these mistakes. There were instances in the early years of me trading. Say my goal was to make $1,000 that day. And instead of making $1,000, I lost, say, $200. I would quickly go back into a trade to try and make that $200 that I lost and the profit that I thought I should have gotten for the day, and would end up losing. You would end up losing, say, $500 overall. And it's only with that pain of that loss, you realize, boy, I should have followed some rules here. And I have a rule for myself personally. If I lose 2 trades in a day, I don't trade anymore. But the method of trading that I personally use, that isn't a factor, because my system of trading, I only want to trade realistically 1 trade a week. So for instance, this past week here, I made a trade on Monday. Now that was supposed to be my only trade for the week, but I did not make my trading goals for the week. I only made $1,000 in that trade. So here it is. I saw my A+ setup. So I said, I'm going to take another trade. Now I took that trade Friday morning, but see, it's a whole week span. So the first trade, I was in it for a day. The second trade, I was in it for a day. Literally 6 whole hours for the whole week of me being in these trades. Now you hear me say 6 hours of me being in the trade. This is not 6 hours of me being at the monitors.
Mm-hmm.
That is something that is a mistake that a lot of new traders make as well, that I had to learn in the early days. More monitor time does not make you a better trader. More monitor time is not going to make the market bend to your will. You, as a trader, you should know before you enter that trade where your stop loss is going to be, where your, I would say, ideally 3 take profit levels is going to be. And once you are aware of those levels and you know you have your setup, then you enter into the trade. A lot of persons listen to too many voices. You have to become so focused, so locked in to where you do not hear the outside voices. For instance, me personally, I take with a grain of sand advice on trading from anybody who has never traded or who never press sell or buy. I would take advice from you as a trader if you're in the market, if you're in the trenches with me, if you know the pain of loss and the thrill of victory, then I would listen to you. Here it is. Most persons coming into trading, they don't understand that the early losses that you make is literally the tuition that you're paying. When I say the tuition you're paying, if you were to go through the structured, traditional university outlay of learning how to day trade, you would spend approximately $80,000 in university fees. And you would literally have to go up to the master's level to get what is being offered in this day and age so willy-nilly. But because persons don't know the value, I've seen individuals literally put what I would call $50,000 and $100,000 strategies out into the public zeitgeist without a second's thought. Persons who have no knowledge of what this individual is talking about would either attack it or degrade it, or, have something negative to say, not having even the slightest understanding of that particular world that person is speaking from. One of the things that I tell my students when they're getting into learning how to trade is don't tell anybody that you're learning how to trade. That's the first thing. Don't tell your family, don't tell your friends, don't tell your coworkers, don't tell them. Go through the educational phase, get your strategy down pat, get your A+ setup down pat. And at that particular point, once you launch your live account, and maybe about 6 months in and you've been profitable that 6 months, if someone presses you, you might let it on. Because what I found is the level of don't care-fiedness you have to become a successful trader. Literally, you have to be an Iron Man.
This is a lot of gold that you're dropping. What I'd like to know more about is, right? Earlier you would have spoken about the whole university aspect and how people actually pay tens of thousands of dollars to go to university when for about like 4 or 5 years to get their bachelor's degree, master's degree, all that good stuff, right? When it's not that that's a bad thing for your personal career goals, but there's also the option of learning how to trade. And as you said, it usually takes about 6 months and then possibly, some time afterwards to really master the craft, right? I would like for you to let us know a little bit more about your school, the Day Trade Institute, and what does it bring? Why should people be interested inside of it? Let's give us a little bit more about that. Should people be interested in joining that and learning?
Okay. Well, the Day Trade Institute is a 3-year online day trading school whereby we teach individuals from the beginner, whether you know absolutely nothing about the financial markets, know absolutely nothing about any of the markets. We take that individual and we teach them how they can day trade the stock market, the foreign currency market, and the crypto markets, those 3 markets in particular. And in terms of how it is presently structured, it is hosted on the Teachable platform, and you have about approximately 80 hours of training videos there, and you're able to access these videos and go through the course in your own time, in your pace. In terms of what we fundamentally teach, we teach what is known as what I call a set and forget method of trading. And this was designed primarily for individuals who are in the workplace already and they want to make that transition from working that 9-to-5 job into a full-time day trader. So what we designed was this method of swing trading that would allow the average individual, say on a Sunday evening for about a half hour to an hour, to analyze the charts and then enter their trades on a Monday morning. And after entering their trades, basically let their trades run for the week. And this ensures that they don't have to be in the front of their monitors. This method of trading that we teach also allows them to set up alerts on their phone that will allow them to know in advance, it's time to enter your trade if you didn't do it on Sunday. What we pride ourselves in is we have taken approximately 25 years of trading knowledge and we've compressed it and we've simplified it to where even a young person can understand it. My youngest student to point to this date has been 11 years old. My oldest student to date has been 75 years old. So that will give you a range. And the number one thing that we pride ourselves in is we try and simplify the information to a level where it is the language that is being used and the examples that are being used is so straightforward and succinct that it doesn't require a whole lot of over processing and overthinking. One of the mandates that I personally follow as an individual, I believe that if you are supposed to be an expert in a subject matter, I take on the Einstein approach. You should be able to explain it to a 6-year-old. And that is what I've been able to do with day trading. I've been able to simplify it to a level where I personally feel a 6-year-old can understand day trading. And I personally feel that is what the Day Trade Institute brings to the table. And even more so than that, the thing that the Day Trade Institute has done is we've solved the problem that most traders coming into trading have. And that problem is the size and the amount of capital that they'd be able to trade with when they are starting out. What we've done is we've put into our program the prop firm element, whereby at the end of their training period, we foster our students to where they would be trading a $50,000 prop firm account. Now, what does that mean for the individual? This in itself is one of the major selling points of our course. To give you an understanding, our 4-week boot camp is for $1,000, and our main day trading made easy course is for $3,000. And what we have done in introducing the prop firm account of having $50,000 to trade with, well, that speaks for itself. The money that that $3,000 that a student pays for the course right out of the gates, they're winning because you have a $50,000 trading account to trade. So that is one element that the Day Trade Institute does that is completely different from any other school on the internet to date. And you can check it. Yes, we like to prepare our students with money to trade. The next thing that sets us apart is we have a weekly training regimen whereby I do a Zoom training session with the students. And because I'm of the belief that you need to have that hand holding and that mentoring as you learn to trade, because what I've seen with other schools in particular is they would just give you the course and that's it. You sink or swim, you on your own, like Pipe Bone. So that is the thing that we've done with the Day Trade Institute as well. We have a weekly training session via Zoom, and to even add more to it, because I'm personally as a trader who is a businessman, I believe in giving value. So what we've also done with the Day Trade Institute is we've built out a Discord server for our students. And on this Discord server, we have everything there from other courses by some of the persons out there who I respect personally for free. For instance, I would put courses out there. Like, for instance, my personal mentor in trading, I have his course there for free because he gave me that permission. You're not going to see much difference between his work and my work. It's the same thing. But the thing that sets the Day Trade Institute apart is we tell our students point blank, if you spend $3,000 with us, you should make that and more back within the first month of your trading. And to ensure that this happens, what I would normally do is I would put students, when they're ready to start trading live, I would add them to my signals group so they would be able to follow along with my trades and literally trade along with me. I would give them the entry price, the take profit levels, where to put your stop loss. And that is to ensure that they get their initial investment back right out the gates, so that there won't be any bad feelings. Oh, I gave Doc $3,000 for this course and I haven't made my money yet. No, I make sure you make money. But that is what it's all about with the Day Trade Institute.
Absolutely.
We're about ensuring that persons not just get the trading institution education. We're more about ensuring not just the education phase, but we want to ensure that the student moves into the profitability phase. So you'll see that our school's motto is learn, trade, profit, because we want to stress the learning phase, then the trading phase, and then the profiting phase. And I'm a believer of holding people's hands. I have students who signed on literally from day one who are still with me, who are still coming out to the Monday night classes and things of that nature. And it's because I try to give value every single interaction. I don't believe in underserving my students. I believe in overserving and over delivering. I would rather you tell me, Doc, there's too much information, information overload. But I would know that I have given you the tools that you need to make a life. But lastly, on this particular question, in terms of who we designed this course for, we designed this course primarily with civil servants in mind, persons in the government sector who want to get out of that small pension that they're going to have at the end of retirement. So here it is. I have students that are teachers. I have students that are defense force officers, police officers, all gamuts of the spectrum in the Bahamas. And, when it comes to reputation, I always tell people, if you want to know the reputation of not just the Day Trade Institute, but myself, I tell persons to Google me. I'm one of those Bahamians who I tell you, Google me and see if there's anything in the background that you need to be aware of. And what you are going to find is you're only going to find good stuff. And that's one of the reasons why I tell people on first meeting them, Google me. And, one of the first things that they will find is I'm not a Johnny come lately into the financial markets. For instance, I've been in this from the 90s, just from the investor aspect, but aiding and helping investors grow to bring that to light. When I ran my offshore bank and trust company, I had a branch in Nassau and I had a branch in Turks and Caicos. And what that did for me is it exposed me to a different type of clientele who wanted to transact in large figures, who wanted to do business consistently on that $1 million level. So that in itself changed my outlook. And that is something that I would like to advise Bahamians, especially for those who are so quick to judge without doing their research, without investigating, without doing their due diligence. Know that the way that we as a people were educated in high school and so on and so forth is not the way that the world truly operates. We as a people, I don't care if you went to government school or private school, we as a people, we were educated to be industrial workers. We were educated to be hotel workers. We were educated to be brute slaves, beasts of burden. We were not educated to be intellectuals. We were not educated to know that you can use your brain, your mind to make money. We were educated to think that the harder you work, that will make you successful. We were educated to think that if you break your back for the man, you're going to be rich. All of those are myths. All of those are lies. And the reality is you have to be discerning. You have to know that education is just one of the pillars. There has to come a point in time where common sense is one of the pillars. Discernment, as my grandmother used to always say, discernment, to know if something is sound, to know if something is legitimate, to know if something will empower you or something will take away from you. Does that answer your question, Master Straw?
Yes, sir. It definitely does. So we are coming to the end of today's podcast. And we just want to say, we've definitely learned quite a lot of stuff. And I think many watching this, especially from the Caribbean and especially from the Bahamas, would appreciate what it is that you have to say, because I think so many people don't really understand what trading really is from what's just put on the social medias, as well as they don't really know where to go or who to trust. And it's really good to actually have someone who has been inside trading for 20 plus years, actually been through the ups and downs of the market, and you actually have the frameworks that could actually help a person go from 0 to 100. I just want you to just give out your socials. Like, where can people find you and how can people contact you?
Okay, I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on TikTok. I'm on YouTube. On YouTube is Day Trading with Doc is my channel. We'll be opening up another channel as well, monetized channel. Our TikTok handle is Doc Roberts 242, and LinkedIn, just search for Doyle Roberts and you will find me there. That's where I'm at.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Doc. And to anyone watching the podcast, if you have any more questions for us or even for Doc, you could always just send us a message on our Facebook, our YouTube, our TikTok at any time, and we'll respond. So whatever it is that you want to know, allow us to help you out. And this has been yet another episode of the CryptoNoobz podcast. We'll see you later. Bye.